welcome back to this part 5 on the short series of videos I'm posting on YouTube in support of my latest book, which is my first novel entitled Sailing Towards the End of the World. If you haven't done so yet, hit the subscribe button. If you like the content, give it a thumbs up. If you've got any queries, observations or questions, stick them in the comments section below. Over the last few days, a few of you have got in touch and I've thoroughly enjoyed interacting with you, so a big shout out to you. So in the last video, we looked at an analysis of the key character, Jonathan the Tiger Palmer, and his associate, Joos Van Beer. Today I'm going to do likewise. I'm going to have a look at the interdependence of opposites which exists between the captain, Adam Bos, and his first mate, Arne Riesen. I'm then going to look at the same in relation to Professor Van der Meer and Dr. Van Zyl, and then have a quick look at the South Island Scout Camus. So Adam Bos is the captain of the mission. Adam Bos is lauded by the company. He's one of the very best sailors, one of the very best captains. He has pushed their schemes and agendas exceptionally well. He is an exceptional servant of the VOC. He radiates capability and reliability. He's not particularly talkative, but he's an excellent judge of character. Bos is not prone to using violence to hold dominion over the crew. That is to say, the crew respect him, they like him, but they don't step out of line. And that is because, as the book says, 2 of the crew consist of his devotees. That is to say, people who have been through the mill with him previously. He has selected 20 of the crew, handpicked them for good reason. He trusts them true, as he says in the book. Bos, instinctively, as an exceptional judge of character, really likes Palmer from the outset, but Palmer does unnerve him slightly because he knows there's something different about Palmer, but he can't quite put his finger on what it is. Palmer also likes him. As he notes, Bos is not like the typical English naval officers he's come across, who tend to be sadistic and rule with a rod of iron or by the cat of 9 tails. Sodomy is not encouraged on board. He frowns upon that, even though that does remain a common practice with matelots of this era. Ocean-going travel is exceptionally difficult. Mortality rates are absolutely horrific. Therefore, it's no surprise that buggery, be it consensual or otherwise, is commonplace. Bos frowns upon it, in particular when he talks about his cabin boy, Jacob. He says, any man who I catch trying to purloin his anal virginity, I will castrate him with a rusted blade and cast him to the sea. So he leaves the reader in no doubt. He's not anything other than thoroughly upright. Arne Riesen is his trusted right hand. Riesen is extroverted. He has a squeeze box. He enjoys regaling others with tales of merriment, and he is a bit of a raconteur by all accounts, and also an excellent charcoal artist. He loves sitting in his spare time drawing, just from memory, things that, you know, strike a chord with him. Riesen, again, dovetails with Bos, and the saying dovetail is for a good reason. A dovetail in woodworking is the strongest joint of all. It's almost unbreakable because it runs commonly along the length of the grain of the wood. The two dovetail. There is an interdependence between them. They trust each other implicitly. Riesen doesn't have to be on this voyage, but he chooses to be there, even though this is openly regarded as a bit of a mission impossible, a bit of it's a journey into the darkness, into the abyss. They're pushing the boundaries of the known world. They're going into waters that have never been tilled or charted. The fact that Abel Talman, who was the most notable seafarer of his era, has gone missing would suggest that the likelihood of this search and rescue mission being successful is extremely small. Rhys chooses to be there because he has a platonic love for Boss. That is to say, they are both the best of friends, the very best of friends. Why is Boss there? Because his younger brother Kim was on board Talman's initial foray, which seems to have gone badly wrong. He's particularly keen to recover his younger brother. As he says to Palmer, I will sail until we run out of water in the quest to find my brother. He likes Palmer. He's an exceptional judge of character. Palmer also likes him. That said, Palmer unnerves Boss. He quite unnerves him because Boss can't quite put his finger on what it is about Palmer that is different, although he does intuitively feel that Palmer is someone who can be trusted. He does question this later on in the book, but I won't spoil it by revealing that episode. So that is Rhys and Boss. Rhys just dovetails with Boss. He seamlessly steps into the gaps, the open spaces that Boss leaves. They have this interdependence. They go back a long, long way. Next, I'm going to look at the interdependence between Dr. Van Zyl and Professor Van der Meer. And the interdependence, I'm not going to use the same terminology. I'm not going to say they dovetail. They don't dovetail. They are opposites. However, the interdependence is different in so much as one could be perceived as being bad, one can be perceived as being good. That is a generalisation and an oversimplification. However, you cannot have light without darkness and vice versa. You cannot have good without bad. If you did not have bad, you would not have good, because you wouldn't know good was good without the darkness, the badness. Professor Van der Meer is obnoxious. He is highly intelligent, but is he the cleverest person on board? Well, that is debatable, because there are many forms of multiple intelligences. He has an extraordinarily high IQ, as it would be measured. But that's not to say he is the cleverest person there, because as it turns out, he certainly is not. He has an unfortunate manner. He's sanctimonious. He is derisory in relation to others. He calls himself a connoisseur. When the mission meets its initial setback, he is the only person on board who does not race to the decks and bear arms. He remains below decks, and when challenged on this, he says, I am a connoisseur. I leave a prey to ruffians like you. Connoisseurs shouldn't be taking part in any scuffles or strife. He considers himself better than the rest. He, in truth, really does not want to be on the mission. He has been coerced. He has been manipulated upon the mission. Leverage has been used against him to get him on board. He doesn't want to be there. And in truth, if the truth be told, he is actually a coward. He hides behind his intellect. He hides behind the fact that he coins himself a connoisseur. He's actually spending most of his time on board as being scared, but he hides behind his Socratic type of manner. He is a bit overbearing. Palmer can't bear to be around him. Boss does not like him. Adam Boss does not like him. However, he has been instructed to look after him as much as he can, even though he doesn't like him. Dr. Van Zyl, on the other hand, is quiet. He's notable for his exceptional height. He is tall. He exceeds Palmer by standing at 6'1" tall, and for this era, that is a giant. He stands 2 inches taller than Palmer. He is, however, quite gentle and quiet, but he has nothing left to lose. He was married with children, a family man. However, he was suppressing his homosexuality. So he was having an affair with another man. During this era in the 17th century, throughout Europe, homosexuality is illegal. It's not only frowned upon, it is illegal. And again, by today's standards, it's quite outrageous. He would, under normal circumstances, for being outed as a homosexual, he would be jailed. He is not jailed purely by virtue of his family's good standing and good office. However, he's condemned to caring for plague victims. Van Zyl is generally avoided by the majority of the crew. They make fun of him behind his back. They call him the lanky runt of the litter. He is measured as the weakest man on board. However, how wrong this proves to be, I won't go into that any further than that. Van Zyl spends most of his time with Akamu, who's a fluent Dutch speaker, although he hails from the South Islands. Palma actually has a strong fondness for Van Zyl. He really likes him. He feels protective towards him. As Palma notes, most of the crew avoid him and poke fun at him behind his back. He says most of those who are doing that have probably partaken in buggery, and a common practice amongst seafarers of this era. He says, what right have they to condemn him? What right have they got to condemn any form of shared love in a cruel world? So Palma has a strong fondness for Van Zyl and feels protective towards him. None more so than when, during a conversation, when he asks Van Zyl about his prior oceanic travel, Van Zyl reveals this is his very first trip on board. He suffers from deplorable seasickness, and Palma is stunned and taken aback that this is his maiden voyage, and it turns out to be one of the most perilous voyages of all. So Van Zyl, very well liked by Palma. He spends a fair bit of time with Akamu. However, Akamu has been instructed by Boss to look after Van Zyl, because Boss does feel empathy and care towards Van Zyl. Van Zyl is not in no way scared to admit when he's wrong or has a lack of knowledge or data in relation to any of the quandaries that are put to him or the other collective members on board. Van der Meer, on the other hand, will never admit he's wrong. He would rather become obtuse and highfalutin than be outed as not knowing something. Palma reads Van der Meer like a book. You can easily tune into him telepathically. When the rest of the crew members are wondering why does Van der Meer keep irking Boss, because he rubs him up. Well, Palma knows the answer because Palma reads Meer's thoughts and picks up, love me or hate me, but never ignore me. And I think that says it all about Van der Meer. The last character I'm going to look at is Akamu. He's a South Island scout, and he wears a vial around his neck containing what he believes to be the evil spirit that killed his father when he was a boy. He has made a pact with the spirits via a witch doctor when he was a young boy. He has a greatly tattooed face. He has a powerful physique. He stands quite tall at 5'8". He is heavily muscled, stocky. He is a custodian of the jinn in the bottle around his neck, the jinn of Hanoi Orangi. This is the evil spirit, the malevolent spirit that killed his father. He is to oversee the custody of the spirit. If the spirit Hanoi Orangi ever escapes, then it will wreak havoc and kill him first of all before targeting the rest. That is what Akamu believes anyway. Akamu is a fluent Dutch speaker, however cannot speak English. The best he can muster is pidgin English at best. Therefore, for any conversation to take place between him and Palma, it has to be translated, and usually is done so by Dr. Van Zyl. Akamu has mediumistic qualities, i.e. he is an envoy of the spirits, the sage spirits of the dead. He cannot be read by Palmer. He's one of the very few people that Palmer has ever encountered whereupon he is unable to tune into him and read his thoughts. This startles Palmer. He finds it quite mysterious. Akamu is a mysterious character to Palmer for the aforementioned reasons, but again, upon first meeting him, he can't, as he says, I can barely remain polite and observe decorum by not staring at the ostentatious flaunt that is the tattoos upon his face, because it's quite unusual. So Akamu is a medium. He's operating on behalf of the spirits of the dead. They want him as a conduit, as a nexus to pass on messages, which he does so to startling effect at one episode in the book. Again, Akamu has been on prior missions with Boss and Rhys. Boss and Rhys trust him implicitly. Akamu is perceived as being heathen by the rest of the crew who are Christian. He is animistic. That is, he is not Christian in any way, shape or form. He is generally considered as savage, however, still openly well respected, and he is a confidant of Boss, and he plays a key part in the book. But again, no spoilers, because that would be unfair to do so. So there we have it. Boss and Rhys, the interdependence of opposites. They dovetail each other perfectly. They fuel each other. They support each other. They have a platonic love. That is a brotherly love. The very best of friendships. They rely on each other implicitly. Vandermeer and Van Zyl, the independence of opposites is at play in so much as the negative traits of Vandermeer only show Van Zyl in a better light. Van Zyl is a doctor of medicine, which he has put into practice to good effect throughout his life. He's altruistic. He cares about others. Vandermeer is a scholar. He is theoretical. He's a theorist, but he has a brilliant mind. Akamu, mediumistic, animistic. He wears a malevolent spirit, a djinn contained within a bottle around his neck. It's a bit of a mystery to the reader. Hanoi Orangi, is this evil malevolent spirit real? Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this. Stay tuned for the next one. Enjoy reading about it if you've purchased the book, and if you have done so, thanks very much. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Until then, take care.